What is up, everybody? It's Max from the Max and Juancast, and as you can see, I'm not joined by my usual partner in crime, Juan. He's celebrating his girlfriend's birthday, so big birthday wishes to her. Hope it's a great day. But guys, I'm gonna hold it down for a week. Be patient with me. I'm not Juan. I'm not as good as doing it by myself, and we're just gonna go over some of the craziness of this NFL Sunday. And unfortunately, I'm gonna talk about what happened on Thursday, but I'll save that for last. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to follow, like the video, subscribe, put the bell on. It really helps. Leave a comment down below. Last Sunday we had a big discussion about Justin Herbert. Maybe it was Wednesday. And I think there's no better place to start this episode off with than the Sunday night football. Now we have Justin Herbert going against Tua Tagovailoa, the Miami Dolphins, who were 8-4 versus a 6-6 San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers. And this game, when you're leaving, you're going to get two takeaways if you're really watching the game, in my opinion. Now, this is not to say Tua Tagovailoa can't be a good starting quarterback, that he's not presently good. This is to say him and Justin Herbert are on different playing levels. To me, it's all about the eye test, and I think the eye test said a lot tonight. It was Justin Herbert moving in the pocket, sliding out of pressure, making a couple key runs, having an explosive arms capable of threatening the Dolphins. Because if you look at Miami's offense compared to the Chargers, I think it's polar opposites. The first drive, Chargers go 15 plays, end up on the 1 yard line, and stupidly, Brandon Staley decides, hey, let's go for it. Why would we be up 3-0? 3-0, F that. Let's go for it. They don't get it. And then the Dolphins get the ball back. They don't really do much. And the Chargers, they're in control of this game until one of the most unbelievable plays and I've ever seen in the NFL. Basically, there's a fumble by Jeff Wilson. The ball squirts out. Nazir Adderley, I think, is just celebrating on this. Like, he's just flexing on the field. Tyreek Hill picks it up, runs 50 yards for a touchdown on a fumble recovery. I'm sure the fantasy owners loved it. If you're a Chargers fan or someone supporting the Chargers, that would make you absolutely sick to your stomach. But the Chargers were, for the most part, had this game in hand. Then Tyreek Hill gets him another 50-yard touchdown. Tua throws it. Guy falls. That's the difference between the Chargers and the Dolphins. The Dolphins can score in one play, and it doesn't seem very possible for the Chargers to score in anything under than 10 plays, 80 yards, and it's just reliant too much on number 10. Tua had a bad game. He was inaccurate, missed a lot of throws. I felt like there was a lot of times he could have been picked off. And Justin Herbert was just played one of the best games a quarterback can play. Moving up in the pocket, working with crap around him, throwing the ball, throwing it into coverage, tight windows, giving his guys a chance to catch it. And yes, there was an egregious call on Jalen Phillips for roughing, and that's just something the NFL has to do a better job of saying, hey, yeah, the rule's roughing, but that's not roughing the passer. He tackled him. He put his hands out. It's not roughing. That kept the drive alive for the Chargers. That's a stupid penalty. But this game to me, and I know I'm a big Herbert guy. I'm not a big Tua guy. Juan's bigger on Tua than I am. It's been 2 bad weeks from Tua. It was bad this week against the Chargers defense that, let's face it, is short on talent. I don't think Derwin James played this game. All they have is real Khalil Mack. They have Asante Samuel, who's a good but not great corner. And they should have had their way with the Chargers. And last week against the San Francisco 49ers, short on Jimmy G, the Dolphins, again, although they had a chance to win, struggled. And I get it's the number one defense. And I mean, we can talk about what they just did to Tom Brady. Tom Brady is officially done. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care that he might go back to the Patriots. There's only one team he should probably go to next year, and that's the Niners. But maybe they don't need him. They got this guy named Brock Purdy who put together a hell of a game. Now, this wasn't just Brock Purdy destroying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That would be wrong to say. This was an ass kicking on all levels. Tom Brady threw 2 interceptions, and one of them was bad. One of them was, hey, I'm an old man. I'm scared to get hit. Here you go. I'm going to throw a lollipop into the air. And Tom Brady was constantly under pressure. The 49ers were out hitting, out physicaling the Bucs all afternoon. The Bucs lose Vita Vea really early in the game, which is going to hurt their run defense. The Niners, I think, had 200-something rushing yards. It's kind of unheard of against the Bucs defense, especially over the past few years. And then the worst thing for the Niners was Deebo Samuel got hurt. Now, initially, we thought it was an ACL, or I say me, Dak, and Joe, we were all in the party watching the game together, and you're like, oh, towards ACL, that sucks. But it seems like it's just going to be a high ankle sprain, 4 weeks, maybe 5, maybe even milder. So that's just best case scenario. We have to wait and see what the injury update is. But Tampa Bay's a bad team. If this game doesn't show that, they're 6-7. They should have lost to the Saints last week. They had some Tom Brady magic, but this is what Tom Brady is, guys. This is what I've been saying he is for the last 3 years. Yeah, they won a Super Bowl with him. When you have a stacked team and the O line's protecting them, but they lost Ryan Jensen for basically the whole year. They lost Tristan Wirfs for a big chunk of the year. They lost Alex Kappa to free agency. They replace him with guys like Shaq Mason, who's a little long in the tooth. These are guys who just can't keep Tom Brady up. And if you have any chance to succeed with Tom Brady, it all starts up front. The Niners got after him early, made him a little jumpy, made him want to get rid of the ball quick. The Bucs held on a 3-man rush where Mike Evans caught an 80-yard touchdown that was wiped away, and that was a gut punch. But the Bucs are 6-7. They're still, I would say, going to win their division because their division is the worst division since last year, since the NFC East. But we're going to have to wait and see if this Bucs team can figure something out. Maybe they're just a tough out in the playoffs. Maybe they can steal a game. But I think if you're going to say this Bucs team has Super Bowl aspirations, I think you're believing something that isn't there. Nothing about this team screams Super Bowl. Not the offense, not the defense, not the coaching. The Bucs, I would say, are officially done as Super Bowl contenders. They're still going to probably be a pain in the butt just because, they have some talented players. But Tom Brady, this is what you signed up for. One more year. You could have just retired, had a great life with your model wife, but you just wanted to give it up. And I mentioned the NFC East. I'm going to hit 2 quick games. I'm going to hit the Eagles, who just destroyed the Giants, which felt really good. 48-21. Jalen Hurts continues to make his case for MVP. But that, everyone thought the Eagles versus the Giants. Can't wait to see the Eagles versus the Giants. Well, what about the Texans versus the Cowboys? This game came down to the wire. Cowboys were favored by 17.5 points. Didn't get close to covering it. And oh my God, the Texans with this little 2-quarterback system with Davis Mills, Jeff Driscoll, they made it close. And I mean, if you're a Cowboy fan, how do you not take away this game and you're a little worried? This is what this is about. It's about looking like an NFL team, looking like a kick-ass team. The Cowboys didn't look like that this weekend. They were getting trounced at all levels. They outgained Houston, but they were sloppy with the ball. Dameon Pierce kind of gave the Cowboys life when he fumbled the ball away. But so we're going to have to see next week. Is this a blimp for the Cowboys? Or just as the Cowboys are? They're a talented team, but they'll play down to their level of competition, and maybe they're not in the Eagles' breath. I don't know. We really got to see the Eagles and Cowboys play, especially with Dak Prescott in the mix. Last time there was Cooper Rush, so there was that excuse. But this Cowboys team, they avoided disaster today because this would have been the biggest upset of the NFL season. But somehow Dallas pulled it out. They went on a 95-yard drive. It was gutsy. Dak made some plays. CeeDee Lamb had a big day. This Cowboys team, man, they leave a lot to be desired in situations, whether it be dumb penalties, poor coaching at times. But, you say that and they're 10-3, right? They whooped the shit out of the Vikings, who lost to the Detroit Lions today. And we have to talk about Detroit. Are they a real team? I think so. They got some play from Jamison Williams, who I was so happy to see. That was his only catch of the day, but a 41-yard touchdown for a guy who, let's pump the brakes before we grade how he is. He's coming off an ACL tear. It's not fair to him to expect him to be the guy he was at Alabama. He's young. He's still learning the game. I know we see all these wide receivers come in. It's like Justin Jefferson, who had a humongous day, who's been nothing but spectacular since he's entered the NFL. But the big takeaway from this game, and Juan said it, I got to tip my hat to Juan, the Vikings are fucking fake. This is a game where the Vikings showed their fakeness. This is the 4th consecutive game where their defense has given up 400-plus yards. That's not a team that's going to really be able to compete in the playoffs. You go 400 yards. And this is a Detroit team who I think is good. I wouldn't say they're anything special. But what they have right now is Jared Goff. And Jared Goff's playing great. There was a report today the Lions view him like a franchise quarterback. That's a tricky thing to look at him as. And I know he's played good for spurts, but let's remember, guys, he was the reason they started off 1-6. One of the reasons they started off 1-6. He's played better lately, but is this really the guy you want to lead your franchise moving forward? I don't think that's fair. If you have a potential to draft someone in the top 5, I say let Goff start next year. Let him sit behind it. There's nothing wrong with letting a guy learn. Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre sat behind people. This was the way it used to be in the NFL, but now these guys come out and they're ready to play. They're ready to play. They have to play. But look at a guy like Trey Lance. He sat behind him for 2 years. I know that's a different case, but Jared Goff, I think he's proven enough to start one more year in Detroit. They're 6-7. They have a chance to make the playoffs. And before the start of this year, if I told you Detroit Lions better than Green Bay, you would have laughed at me. Everyone said, Max, you're crazy. One, you're crazy. We didn't say it, but just imagine if we had. Imagine if anyone saw this Detroit thing coming. Aiden Hutchinson's been great. They're tough. Penei Sewell's out there catching passes, playing out of position, which is just fun to see. This Detroit team, they're alive in the playoff hunt. While a team that was alive, but I think kind of really had a misstep today with Seattle. They're not out of it, but to lose a game in your home stadium, they got down big early. It was 20-0, I think, and they came kind of storming back, but just came up a little bit short at the end against Carolina. Seattle, this was a golden opportunity to go 8-6, put yourself on a pretty much guaranteed spot. But with this tie between the Giants and the football team or Commanders, whatever they're calling themselves this year, could put them in a really big bind with the wild card states because Dallas has a wild card locked up, or Philadelphia. That one wild card's locked up. So if we go to the standings, I'm going to pull them up real quickly. Sorry about this, guys. So right now in the NFC, we have the wild card one is Dallas 10-3, 7-5-1, Washington and the New York Giants. Seattle 7-6, Detroit 6-7. Seattle, you don't control your own spot. Now, obviously, we're going to anticipate the Giants or Washington loses, but Seattle, your schedule is not easy. You play the Niners again. You play Arizona, I believe. Let me look up the schedule for them real quick, guys. They play the 49ers and Chiefs. Those are two teams I wouldn't want to play. The Chiefs coming off a very close game against the Broncos, who somehow found their offensive capabilities today, even though Russell Wilson got hurt. They're officially eliminated. Another crazy story to say before the year. What if we told you Russell Wilson was going to be a shell of himself? No one would have believed us. No one believed anybody. That's how bad it's been for them. Baltimore won a gutsy win. Tyler Huntley got hurt. They brought in Anthony Brown, the undrafted guy, won 16-14 with Mitch Trubisky throwing 3 interceptions. Jacksonville wins. That was a big game. Titans, man. We thought they were a lock to win this division, but they're slowly but surely kind of slipping it away, and somehow the Jags are kind of alive in this whole thing. But I think the Titans do have it locked up. They'd really have to crumble down the field. Was there any other games? The Bills won. Mike White was getting his ribs broken like crazy. Like, it was kind of tough. He was a tough guy, don't get me wrong. But I'm going to go to our final little storyline for the day. And this has happened on Thursday. And I'm kind of glad Juan's not here to talk about it because I texted him right after the game. He responded with a bunch of FUs, which, I might have been egging him on. But I want to talk about one thing, and this is why I think football is one of the best sports out there. Baker Mayfield's a number 1 overall pick who's been nothing short of horrendous this year. He was the worst quarterback in the league, battling it out with Russell Wilson. And he signs to the Rams after he's announced he's going to be the 3rd-string quarterback. He's not going to play. They sign him on Tuesday. He's got 3 days with the team, maybe 2 days, whatever you want to say. And he somehow pulls off the improbable. And this is a game the Raiders were winning. They were in control of. Derek Carr throws a red zone pick right before half where you could have went up 19-3. They didn't excuse me. They went up 16-3, but they only scored 3 points in the second half. The Rams scored 14. Baker goes on a 98-yard drive. And this game doesn't prove that Baker still got it or Baker's an amazing quarterback. But what it proves is Baker kind of deserves a spot in this league. He has talent. We don't want to talk about will Baker Mayfield be on the NFL team next year with all his locker room shit. Well, he's probably going to be the starter for the Rams next week. Maybe he can show enough to say, hey, I deserve a starting job. I've just been in bad situations. And for the Rams, I think this is the best case scenario. You pull a guy off the street who hasn't played in who literally suits up for you for 2 plays, 2 days of practice, and he somehow beats the Raiders, who were one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They were kicking ass and taking names. They won a tough game in Seattle. They beat the Chargers in a tough game. Their offense was clicking on all cylinders, and that eventually ended their season. Raiders go from 5-7. They could have went 6-7 to 5-8. And 5-8 looking in looks pretty tough for the Raiders considering they still have to play the Chiefs. But what an amazing story that is for Baker Mayfield. The guy I'm not really fond of, a guy who we criticize for doing way too many commercials. But you got to tip your hat to the guy. He had heart out there. He gave them a chance to win. and he won the freaking game in unbelievable, like, fashion. Like, no one would have believed that Baker Mayfield would have came in 2 days off the street being with the playbook for 24 hours, whatever, but you gotta tip your hand to Baker. Guys, before I go, I'm gonna do Laker corner without one. The Lakers beat Detroit. AD got sick or whatever he had. This Laker team's giving me hope, guys. I keep saying it. Anthony Davis is a stud. LeBron, keep giving the reins to AD. Russ off the bench. Let's make a trade. Let's get some guys in. Russ, I love you. Keep playing like this, but you need to be traded for this team to have any chance of winning. That's just my opinion. I haven't watched the Lakers as closely as I have in years past, just because with crazy life, like, work, all this crazy stuff. But man, this team, we were writing them off after 3 games, which is definitely too premature. I think they're 8-4 in their last few games, like 12 games. But there's cause for optimism for the Raiders. If you're an Eagle fan, excuse me, the Raiders, the Lakers, the Eagles continue just to mow down everybody in front of them, which just has me great. I still want this team to play Dallas at full health. I don't want the division to be wrapped up by then. The Eagles, they played Dallas when they play the Bears and the Cowboys. I need Dallas to win next week. I need the Eagles to win. And then December 24th, Christmas Eve, which is a Saturday, I believe. I'm sorry to everybody in advance of my Christmas party. I'm going to be watching the Eagle game. Oh, it's at 125. I think I'll be okay. But guys, thank you for tuning in. I know it's a short one. I know Juan's not here. Everybody misses him. I miss him. We'll be back on Wednesday for the pick'ems. We got a lot of things in the works. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, follow, hit the bell, and above all else, just recommend us to whoever you want to. Friends, enemies, coworkers, colleagues, whatever. I'm Max, guys. Peace. Have a good Sunday night.